How are we doing tonight? Maybe today, maybe the afternoon, maybe you're in the morning drive, but welcome to the Brosen. We got a special guest for you today. But first, I would like to introduce our usual host, Mr. Adam Drake. There he is. If you can't see him. Next up, we got your favorite BG handler, Mitch Hudson.
What's going on, guys?
And your favorite PA turned AD, Sam Jenkins.
Oh, hello, everybody.
And our special guest tonight is Mr. Noah James.
What's up? What's up, you guys?
Oh, that's awesome. See, we knew that Noah was on the podcast because
Yeah, I mean, if you introduce me last, then you gotta, go crazy.
Yeah,
with it.
Right,
way to
right.
bring it home, Noah. That was nice. I love
good to
that
have you
energy.
here, man. So hyped to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. The Brosen.
Yeah. Welcome to the Brosen, dude. That's one of the things I love about Noah the most is that energy, dude. And you right there on the intro, you gave us that energy, and that you bring that to set every day, and I love it.
That's right. It's so true. The energy bringer since season one, day one,
That's right.
season one. Yeah,
Dude, I do think it's kind of important, though. Not like it's always, I don't know, I just feel like being present, but they can be really long days. And it's also, we're away from home and you're filming for months. And so if you show up with kind of like a bad attitude, it's just like brutal from there. Like it just devolves into chaos
right.
and horror. If you're not like willing to show up with a little bit of pizzazz in your step.
Yeah,
Ben. Now,
Hey.
but
Don't. I'm trying. Okay.
All right, so Noah, we like to always start off an episode with an icebreaker, just a fun little icebreaker question.
Cool.
So, Ben, you want to hit us with that icebreaker since that was yours, my man?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Noah, take yourself back 2,000 years ago.
here we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
You may be playing your own
you're
character.
dead. Okay, no,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
alive.
dead. You're gone.
Okay.
yeah.
If you're not playing your own character, what occupation would you like to have in the first century?
Like to have or likely to have?
Ooh,
let's
you
say-
could do both. You could do both.
Yeah, I was
if you
going to say,
want.
let's go with both. Let's
Yeah.
go with both.
Okay. Like to have the Prince of so and so. No, the wealth gap was quite large back then, and I'm assuming that goes to the quality of life gap as well. So as high up the food chain as possible, but probably like I would like to be some sort of military strategist or something.
Oh,
I feel like
interesting.
then you're like, okay,
Like
you're sort
like
of
Atticus? You thinking Atticus?
oh yeah, but maybe like more officey. Atticus is a little bit out
the
there. I feel
HR
like,
department.
Yeah.
yeah. You can be
Rome.
sort of in the back lines there.
Noah, do you think maybe you'd be a Lannister?
This dude says that to me as if I can't see his face in the
Right.
webcam right now. As if he
Dude.
doesn't look like the most Lannister dude you've ever seen in your life.
To our audience and to Adam that doesn't get it, Lannisters from Game of Thrones, and Noah and I go back and forth about this all the time.
There's no back and forth. Sam literally looks like a Lannister. Like there's an actual character in the show who has Sam Jenkins' face taped on his face. Yeah, and then he has the audacity to say something like, "I'm Jon Snow," when it's like, bro, I'm sorry, but I'm showing up
Yeah.
with the Jon
Yeah.
Snow. I don't know.
Literally has the
wishes.
Jon Snow hair.
But probably
I do.
what I would be doing, I think about like if you were an actor back then, we're talking like you are in a wagon going town to town, like doing puppets and crazy stuff. So that would be kind of an interesting life, and probably like as a performer or a musician or like I would be in that
I
world.
love that.
I wouldn't be
I
on
can
the
see you doing
farm.
that.
I wouldn't be hunting or gathering. I'd be like the minstrel going town to town trying to get enough to buy something at the tavern.
Only
My
social
references
skills.
are like
Yeah.
medieval, but we'll say 2,000 years ago too.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
great. What about you, Ben? Since it was your original
Yeah.
question, what would be yours?
I do like both sides of it. I think I would like to almost be kind of, I was thinking traveling salesman. I know, like a
For
snake
what?
oil salesman.
Wait,
I don't know,
what?
like
This
it
isn't
makes
the
me think of
1950s, man.
He's selling
it makes me think
wheels.
of
He's like, you gotta try it.
just
Selling
What are
the
you-
you gotta get on this wheel.
What are you, a milkmaid?
Like
Yeah,
in season 4, when y'all are walking down the path and you come across the cashew and like nut salesman,
Okay.
That's
just
you.
traveling, you're just out hanging out, same thing.
I don't know that he's necessarily a traveling salesman. I think he
That's
has goods to sell, probably
That's
at his
fair.
same place every day. But
I'm just thinking, get to travel, see the world.
That little shop had the
make a
wheels.
few bucks.
I don't.
Hey,
think
I
they
like
are
the city.
seeing
I'll
world.
hang out here for a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Most likely, probably, I don't know, working at the back of like a farm or something, just shoveling poop and
Yeah.
feed and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Eating cornbread.
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, we were all in, tough shape because
Right,
it would be
true.
like everyone
True.
would be either dead by our age or, barely surviving. So
Right.
I'd be a father of 6, dude. at my
Yeah,
age.
Sam would be middle aged. We'd be elderly.
Yeah.
Adam would be put out to pasture, dude.
Yeah, I'd be done. I would be cooked. If this
Yeah.
was 2,000 years ago.
I mean, I did grow up on a farm, so I maybe I'd be farm hands. Maybe I'd just be those farm hands. That's how I grew up.
It's true.
Adam's
But-
a serf.
But I was
old
thinking
days.
more like I'd like to be like an entertainer too, like a juggler or something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I'd like to be one of the king's entertainers. I'd enjoy that. Putting on a
100%.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's got to be like the best job, honestly.
Right.
None of the
From the
responsibility,
first-
except
Yeah.
if you do a bad job, they do execute you.
They
maybe.
do.
Yeah, you might
Yes.
die.
So,
If you're
but
not- yeah.
how different is that from the normal person walking the streets 2,000 years ago? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what's tough about it is it's like, yeah, like what job would I like to have? And I think ideally I'd be like, like a Homer, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm out there telling tales, you know what I mean? Of like, oh, all these things happen, but you don't really hear about all the money that those guys were bringing in back then. Usually they just kind of died very young under horrible circumstances. So I think, I'd probably more likely end up like, honestly, in The Chosen, they had those people who were hired to be mourners at like people's deaths.
Horrible job.
I mean, but I could do it. I could cry
yell.
and
Just get
do all the
sad.
thing. Go to the next. I'd be the best mourner in town, man. Be a mourn
I think
star.
it's also like,
I'd be-
where
Give us
are
an
we?
example. Give us an example,
Yeah.
Sam, of how you do that, Mitch.
Yeah,
How
go
I
ahead.
do it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you take one? Go ahead.
You just run. Okay, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on.
Kind of like it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, so is it like a check or is it just a bag of
Serviceable.
coins? And then I leave. Yeah.
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 And then
is that
and
a
then
check, babe?
that kind of probably would fuel my telling tales, side hustle where I'm kind of less Homer, more just on the city streets like, hey, you want
I
to hear
love
a
how
story
we're
I
all
made up?
just in the proscenium, in the like,
Yeah.
amphitheater, trying to
Yeah.
scrounge for a
Really
dollar,
trying to make it. Yeah.
tell some
Yeah.
tales.
That's
We're all
right.
Yeah.
artists.
How about you,
I
Sam?
feel like I'd have it both. I'd want to be a knight, and I think
Dude,
I
you're
would
a great. You are a bandit on the road.
Bandit on the road.
There's no way that you are in like a dirty prison cell.
I'm the heir to a throne I don't deserve.
There you go. There
So
you go.
in
There
this
you go.
universe,
In this universe, I'm still a nepo
is your
baby.
father the creator of like a popular amphitheater show
Yeah.
that you
yeah.
are going to? Oedipus.
My father's the king, and I'm the nepo knight.
The
Nice.
Nepo
The
Knight.
Nepo Knight.
Dude,
Nepo
that's
Knight
it.
is a really funny concept.
I feel like
he became a
I-
knight, but not because of his valor.
That is,
Yeah, I
that
had
is,
to. I
that
start,
is
I
now
start,
the title to this episode. Nepo Knight.
Yeah.
100%.
The
Nepo
Knights.
Knights?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I could be a bandit because I feel like I'd feel bad right away for stealing stuff.
Listen,
No,
2,000 years ago, what's going on with us? More, we don't know how we
Morally,
feel.
Yeah.
We're real shifty.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be a knight or something because I don't know. I feel like I'm young enough. I feel like I'm athletic enough. I can do it.
You're old by then standards, dude.
Yeah, it's like, well, I
Yeah.
thought you had 6
I'm-
kids at home.
I'm
Yeah.
a father of
Knighting?
6.
Does your wife know you're out knighting? You're just freaking gallivanting around. She's like, go slay your dragons. I'll feed the kids.
By the way, no knights 2,000 years ago. Although,
Wait,
could
what
be
if-
something similar. All of our examples are like from 1,000 years ago, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
that's
That's
okay.
I'm
That's
going
how
off
I
of
missed.
I'm bringing it back, and I'm going off of Game of Thrones logic. So I'm not
Listen,
thinking of.
Game of Thrones was not anywhere in the prompt. It was not in the icebreaker. This is why
But
you
when
be
you
a
see
bandit,
this-
dude.
Yeah, when you see this photo of Sam in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
You'll understand.
You'll
Yeah,
understand.
I'm a bandit of stealing time
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
because
All right. Well,
Yeah.
well, look, that was a great start. I love the answers. Noah, you started us off great there. But let's get into some real questions. So,
Let's do it.
obviously, us here at the Brosen know you pretty well, and I think I know a lot about you. But I want the audience, and probably for us, what is something that most Chosen fans don't know, or anything that that's not related to the Chosen? We're going to start there. Like, what? Who is Noah James outside of playing Andrew? Of course, who is Noah? What do the average people not know? What do we not know?
Yeah, I mean, well, you guys probably know it's been now however many years, 5, 6
6
years?
years. 6 years.
Which is
6
so
years, yeah.
insane.
Crazy.
But I will say, like, when I'm on set and you guys have called me in at 5:30 in the morning, and I get there and you guys are like, "I'm so sorry, man. We're not using you till 1 p.m." Dude, I'm not upset. I literally go straight up into the bungalow. I jam Dead Mouse or Eric Pride's or EDM. I am like a pumping EDM or techno, anything. And then I am literally just playing like, any sort of ranked online game I can. And I'm just like jamming, or I literally bring, this is so funny. I have this is one, actually, speaking of medieval times, I literally just got this. I will not be playing it for you, but I just got this medieval sampler and
my
MIDI
goodness.
controller, okay?
Dude,
Well, actually, now how can I not? So this is literally, I'll be upstairs in my bungalow making music, which I do. Like I'm actually next month or in about a month, I'm like releasing an EP.
No,
My
no
first,
way.
like,
let's
EP
No
of
way.
EDM music.
That's
So, and I was making some of that
incredible.
music on set. So I would literally, during that time off, I would just be up in my room, like making music. Let's see what happens here. This is,
dude.
Dude, we'll definitely if you finish that before, we'll put a link to that.
Yeah.
yeah, totally, I will.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's so incredible.
that's like just for fun, but I will literally stay in bed. Like this was like 3 days ago. I was playing this like fun little medieval thing, and I wrote a little bass line on it. This is just to like get my creative juices going. And then once I wrote it, I like filmed it on my phone, which is not the way that I'm supposed to be doing this, but film it, then took it to my laptop and like Logic and like made it like, and like, that's what I do on my off time. I love
Dude,
like
That's
making
amazing.
music. Other than that, I play a lot of games. Norma, my wife, and I, like, we go to game nights all the time and play board games, or we play like the Switch, anything. I'm big into that. I just like love, I don't know, having fun. I want to like soak up as much of life as possible. So that's generally like, even on the off time now, because this show is so stable, which is so unusual as an actor, like to have a stable job, I try not to take it for granted at all. And then one of the things that it allows me to do is during the off time, like I enjoy it because it's like every day I can do, I wake up, I'm like, I go to the gym in the morning and I don't have to get there at like 6:30 a.m. before an office job. Like I go, I enjoy myself. I like make my food. I'm watching the stuff. I'm making music. It's a very artsy kind of life. And I love that. And
That's
so,
incredible.
and then I'm always trying to put things in the fire. So there's always something going on professionally, or even if that's like building something so that in 5 years, something will be sort of going for me professionally, but that I can always have this kind of lifestyle where I can be, artistic in my day-to-day world.
That's so
yeah.
awesome, man.
That's
well,
sort of-
dude, that shows on set too, because like you do bring, as we said earlier, you bring life to the party, man. And you're just always like there to enjoy it, even when we have hard days and it's like emotional or it's hot and it's 105 degrees or 20 degrees.
Yeah.
Noah comes and is just like, "Let's go, dude. Let's go."
It's because he's been in his bungalow bumping EDM.
Yeah, I've been
for hours.
bumping
Yeah.
jams, dude.
Jacked up.
So
Yeah.
no,
The resting
what you
heart
don't
rate is like
know-
150, like just crazy. Yeah.
yeah. What you don't know, Noah, is actually your call time really isn't until like 11. I bring you in at 5:30 just to start getting you hyped up.
Just to
Right,
get
right.
pumped
So, because I
up.
want you to come to set all hyped, so I just call you super early.
Dude, but that is like something too, like on set, when you're talking about the long days, that I think people don't. It's so funny because, and Mitch, maybe you can attest to this, but when we have those weeks, where people are coming in from all over the world and we have like hundreds of people in.
Yeah.
I noticed this the first time during the feeding of the 5,000, but I was doing this. There was one day when, for whatever reason, like all of my little moments during that sequence were that day. So when I'm like looking out at the crowd and then I walk in and I see Telemachus and I'm asking him for bread and then I walk over, for whatever reason, like all of that stuff was in this one day. And so everyone else sort of had a few hours off.
Right.
And it was like just me on, which at first I'm like, so resentful of, because I'm like, oh, you enjoy the time off, because it was blisteringly hot.
Yeah.
But as
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing it, it's so funny because we were going as fast as we possibly could with those scenes. But even still, like we're rarely doing 1, 2, 3 takes. Like generally you're doing 5, 6, 7 of a setup. And then you move into a different setup and then you move into close up and you're getting coverage. So like the people around me as I was filming, just that little moment with Telemachus, or I think there's even, I walk up to another guy, I'm like, "Do you have food?" And he's like, "No." And then I go to so those moments, the people sitting there, they at first, we do it once, we do it twice, and after time, they clap, which still happens now. The background will clap after a take. But then we like kept going. And I would hear them going, "Are we really doing it again?" And I said to them, I'm like, "Oh, we got a whole bunch of, like, we're going to go in for coverage." And I think people don't understand how long it takes to get just one little sequence.
Yeah.
And so when you have a day like that, it's so worthwhile to figure out how to sort of last the entire day. Because otherwise you're going to be, you feel so drained. And so part of it is like coming in with a good attitude, trying to be as rested as possible, and just like being present. And that's why I don't really have my phone with me if I'm like sitting in between, or if they all cut, I don't like immediately take out my phone and text or anything, because it sort of takes you out of yourself. And then coming back into being present takes energy. Right. So it's all about like, how do you withstand the hours of the day? And I just think, that's how I have figured out how to do it. But it has been, I feel like I've learned throughout the years of being on the show. Like I remember my first day we got to lunch and I was like, "Dude, I am dead." And it was in between this big, the running in and telling Simon that I'd just seen The Messiah.
Right.
We do all of his coverage for the first part of the day. And then we get to lunch and they're like, "All right, it's lunch." And then we'll come back and do yours. And I was like, "Oh no, like I am in trouble. I have just been not figuring out how to manage my energy." So, I've learned a lot how to just sort of exist in that place, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is incredible how all you guys do that, and girls. Like, it's just, you really are doing the same thing over and over again, and so much, because so much, especially when we have 18 people on screen. There's so much coverage we have to get.
Yeah.
You are doing the scene so many times. Even though Dallas is great about very few takes.
Totally.
You're still doing so many takes. Yeah. You really got to spread that out through the day.
And it's funny too, because everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own way that they like to work. And a lot of the times that will dictate how the scene goes, depending on like who maybe has the most to carry in that scene. So like if someone has a lot to carry and the way they work is like they need to be left alone, they don't want to talk, they want it quiet, they don't want, you know what I mean, then we're all like, cool, we'll work that way. And then a lot of the times if someone who has the most to sort of carry in that scene is like, not like that. They want to be, you know, I don't know, like running around or talking to crew or whatever. Then it has a different kind of energy, and you're always sort of flexible in that way of trying to figure out how best to serve the scene and the work. And then it even changed, like when Shahar and I will do a scene together, just the two of us, totally different than if I'm doing a scene with someone else. And so it is kind of interesting to just be adaptable in that way and see what the moment is sort of requiring of everyone.
Dude, speaking of you and Shahar, okay, that is you and Shahar, Andrew and Simon are one of my favorite relationships in the entire show. Like you guys, especially over there, feel like absolute brother. Like you guys feel like real brothers to me. And after from the very beginning of you going and telling them about Jesus and the Messiah's here to even now and the relationship and the looks you guys give each other. Talk to us about that, man, because it is seriously one of my favorite relationships. And every time I see you guys, I'm like, man, it feels like even me knowing you personally, every time on screen, I'm like, man, those dudes are real brothers. Those are brothers in real life. Like that's legit relationship.
Yeah, dude, it's been like one of the definite gifts of the show in terms of the performance or the acting of it, because there's so much there and there's so much material that we've had and growth that we have as characters, and these little moments where you see our relationship deepen or change and or we switch sides and one of us is, you know, losing it and the other one's calm, and then vice versa, and that's been so fun to sort of sink my teeth into, because I just feel like it's so real and they allow us to have fun with it, which I think is why it feels so authentic to people, because it feels like the way that you know, tell your brother off or your sister off, or how you kind of, you know, then hug each other after a really, really tough moment. And I think that it does feel special, but we sort of took our, you know, we were guided by the scripts, even so much, like I would say some of the first stuff that we ever did in, you know, the walking through the market, going to pay our taxes, and we're sort of joshing each other and making fun of each other a little bit, but it's very serious, you know, what we're about to go do. And so at the end of the day, you know, that, you know, in that moment, he has my back. And I, of course, have his, but that we're still kind of giving each other a hard time. And so we immediately kind of picked up on that. And we're like, cool, in a story that will feature, you know, the story of Jesus, you're going all the way to the crucifixion and beyond. Like, we know that this story is going to be super heavy. I mean, like, it can't not be. It's going to be heavy. And already in the first episode, there's a lot of heavy stuff. And so we just sort of saw that any time that we can have fun, any time that we can bring a relationship like that to life, it's like, we got to do it, because the audience needs those moments of respite. You need, you know, a time where you can laugh. And, you know, even like in the first, I remember, you know, making fun of his singing and stuff, but he's singing to help his mother-in-law who's like deathly ill. So it's a really beautiful thing that he's trying to do. And then it's like, I give him a hard time about it. And it's just those little letting out the air so that the audience feels like they're in safe hands.
Right.
That I think is just, yeah, we just sort of both got that. We both understood, and we both love comedy as well. And so I think that we knew that any moment we can sort of milk the relationship for comedy, we just had to go for it.
I've got a story that I just thought of about Shahar and Noah as like that brotherly relationship. I'll try not to move from my chair. So as many people know, Noah is one of the greatest Super Smash Bros. Player probably in the world. Not even exaggerating. Probably
That's not true, but
Watch out for that Greninja.
but I'm better than any of you or your friends, but not better than the one. Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to contest you on. This is where the story's going, Noah. So for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm telling Noah about my cousin, who is bizarrely good at the game. And I'm like, you two got to play together. So my cousin's in town, and Noah's at my house, and they're playing together, and they're going back and forth.
Wait,
and
dude, you got to set up the story. Oh, hold on. Let me interject here.
Okay,
so,
fine.
Dan comes up to me. He's like, my cousin's in, and, you know, you guys are going to play Smash. And I'm like so obnoxiously overconfident, but also just playing it up. And I'm like, dude, I will bet your cousin $1,000 that I will beat him. And if he loses, he just has to pay me $5. I was like doing all the stupid, I will bet him whatever, because I'm like, I will beat a normal person. Sam tells me nothing about his cousin except he's my cousin who plays Smash. Okay, continue.
So Noah and my cousin are playing, and we're upstairs, and it's a little bit back and forth, but there's a one point my cousin will not stop beating Noah. And to be fair, and I'll say, Noah, you said it, you guys didn't have the same controller or whatnot, but fine. So
yeah, not a small point, but okay. I'm playing on a toy, and he's playing on his pro controller. Continue.
So Shahar
playing on a Guitar Hero guitar.
So Shahar comes upstairs, and Shahar's there, and he's just watching this, and he's not saying a word. And so earnestly, he didn't mean it as like taunting or anything, but he goes to Noah and he goes, "This is the game you said you were good at?" And Noah just turns around and goes, "Not now, Shahar!" And he was like, "What did I say? He said he was good at this game. I was asking." And
dude, also, Sam's cousin is in the esports league of his college, okay? We're not talking about just random dude. He literally plays in the esports. So I was like, okay, I was a little bit misled. And then we did switch controllers and we ended up tied. But he is very good.
Yes.
He's very good. I don't want to take anything away.
I'm not
probably better than me, like, even though we ended sets tied.
But Shahar coming in and like earnestly going, "This is the game you said you were good at?"
Yeah. That was unhelpful in that moment.
Dude.
It's like a perfect scene from The Chosen. That's perfect.
Yeah. And then of course it's Noah just going, "Bro, yeah, I'm good. I promise, bro."
Oh, we were locked in then. It became like no joking or anything. We were playing in such a way where it gets boring for everyone else to watch because they're like, "Is anything happening?" And we're just like as defensive as possible.
Yeah.
When everyone's like, "All right, I'm done watching this now." But
That's incredible.
We were locked in.
So I forget how we got introduced to Noah, you playing Smash Bros. But I remember season 1 when we first met. We found out about that, and we all played, like me, you, and Mitch, and I just remember, in the hotel lobby. And I just remember you being like, you were so good at Smash Bros. And we're like, dude, and me and Mitch both are really good competitive against normal players.
Against regular,
I would say Mitch and I are like better than the average, right? And then there's like pros status.
Maybe.
So Mitch and I were like, oh yeah, we got this. And then we even took you 2 versus 1. You still spanked us.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I just remember that from season 1, man, of like connecting and playing video games and just
so fun.
So fun.
Well, and then the like second part of season 1, if you remember this, like Noah, Ben, and I went to like a local Smash competition.
Yes.
It was a Walmart.
Yeah, you had a competition.
It was a Walmart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Noah's like, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. And I got absolutely just like physically and emotionally destroyed by like a 14-year-old. You know what I mean? Like we like practiced a little bit together, and then they're like, all right, let's do the real game. And then he like switched his character. He was like, by the way, Luigi's who I usually play as. And I didn't get like 0% damage on him, and then I was eliminated. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
I totally forgot that we went to that tournament, and it was like 45 minutes away. And of course I was like, so this is a slight addiction of mine. I'm going to be heading to this tournament, but you guys want to go? It was It was fun.
Got
that was
monsters.
incredible. That was incredible.
Context for our watchers and listeners: Smash Bros is a fighting game of a bunch of different characters. We don't know what Smash Bros is.
A Nintendo game, Super Smash Bros.
Yeah,
and we've all grown up playing at different versions of it. But Noah is the best. He's the best we've ever seen.
The superstar.
Yeah.
That's what's
Noah's that guy in the movie that you would like go to and be like, well, how do I do this thing? And you're like, oh, well, actually, if you go into the code of the game, you can actually like change the hitbox, and you're like, oh.
But that's not even a bit, because when we're at my house, Noah's like, "What are your settings? Come on, bro. This is why you're losing."
I can tell if a TV has like a little bit more lag on it, and it's like I need to change the picture mode of your TV, dude. I can't play like
insanity, dude. That's crazy. You can see that.
Ben, what were you saying before?
I was gonna say up to that point, I think I'd only played twice, And Mitch around that time just bought a Switch, and Adam
Yeah.
was like, I'm all in, and Adam bought a Switch. So both of them have been playing for quite a while. I hadn't played it all, and Noah was like, yeah, let's just go to Walmart. Let's go to Walmart. We're going to go to a tournament. Mitch was like, yeah, dude, come on.
Yeah.
I was out literally within the first round. Like 5 minutes into the game, I was like, I'm done. This is it. There's no way I'm winning this. Not even
You
close.
just go and finish your shopping the rest of the day.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm going to go grab some groceries for the rest of the week.
Okay, so let me tell another quick story. I have to
It's
tell
like-
another quick story.
Yeah.
He's like Kramer doing karate against all the little kids.
Okay, so I am 18 years old at this point, and the newest Pokemon game has just come out, and I'm like playing it on my Game Boy, and I'm like collecting them all. I'm getting ready, and I am at this point, my job before I go to college is I'm selling Helio phones at the mall at a kiosk. Okay,
Nice.
and I hear that there is a Pokemon tournament 45 minutes away, and I tell my boss that I have to go pick up my grandma from the airport. And and he's like, and I'm like, dude, I gotta go. Like, I'm so sorry. So I drive 45 minutes away to this GameStop to play in this Pokemon tournament. And I got my stuff. I walk in and I'm like, where is everyone? Like, this is so weird. Where are all the people competing? And I go up and I sign my name, and there are other names there, but they look like they've been signed in crayon. And I look around down the aisles and I see that it's all like tiny children have signed up for this game. And I'm 18, dressed nicely because I just came from work. Like, who is this loser coming in to do this?
Dude.
So I go in and I'm like waiting and waiting for the tournament, and they'll be like, calling out the names, and 2 10-year-old kids will like walk up and fight. I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. And then they go, next up, Noah versus Charles. And I like walk up, I hook up my Game Boy, and I'm like, where's Charles? And I hear from behind me, come on, Charles, come on. And a mom is leading her tiny child up to the TV.
No.
And I'm like, and the room gets silent. And I'm like, how old is Charles? And she's like, he's 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And this 3-year-old Charles plugs in his Game Boy. And he loads up, man. And when we go to fight, he sends in 3 Psyducks, okay? And I demolish this kid, okay? Demolish. He doesn't even know the game's over. And then it's like, oh, come on, Charles, and leads him away. And the other parents are like shaking their heads at me. And I'm like, oh, I get this terrible feeling in my chest. And I'm like, I think I gotta go. And I go up to the dude leading it. I'm like, hey, man, I gotta drop out, dude. And he's like, you serious? Like, you're going to win. And I was like, I can't do this, man. So
I gotta go pick up my grandma at the airport.
Yeah. I kicked out Charles. So it was like the worst of both worlds. Like, not only did I abdicate the throne, but I also kicked Charles out. So.
Man, I hope you seek counseling after all that, man. That's
well,
dude.
How do you think Charles is doing? Like, is Charles
Charles
has
is
he become
probably
one of the greatest esports?
Yeah,
like-
he's probably in college right now, like in esports, being like, I will bet $1,000 against Noah James.
Could you imagine?
You find him at a different competition someday. He's like, does this look familiar? And somehow in Super Smash Bros. He brings out Psyduck as a character. You're like, wait, Charles?
Dude, Charles is definitely like an adult now.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine Charles watching The Chosen and he's like, is that the guy that beat me in a GameStop?
He's
when I was
watching it
3?
like,
Mom is
fist.
like,
Yeah.
what? Yes.
So funny.
The Chosen is her favorite television show, and she's like, that man right there.
Hey, Charles.
Yeah, Charles.
Charles, if you're
If you're
watching,
watching this podcast, or Charles's mom, write us. Let
I
us
know.
know.
Charles, Charles, if you're watching,
Noah wants you to know that he's sorry. He wants you to know.
Charles, if
But
you're
it's not
watching,
that
we will do a.
But not
I'm
that
not that sorry.
Right.
If Charles is watching, we'll bring him on the show, and Noah and Charles will do a Pokemon rematch
Oh, so
Live on the
good.
Brosen.
If that's not like the best rival in the making, like,
Oh, yeah.
but just know, Charles,
Yeah.
I will hold nothing back. Like, you must earn.
You were destroyed as a
Just-
3-year-old. You'll be destroyed as a 23-year-old.
Exactly.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or college age.
However, I'm bad at math, but so
Yeah.
let's see. It would be he'd be 18 years
You'd
old.
be 18. Dang.
18.
Let's go.
He's
He's
a
the age
full
that you
adult.
were when you destroyed. You think he's looking for you think he's looking for Pokemon competitions, trying to pass it on?
You're
Do you think he's waiting at that GameStop for you to come back every day?
He's got a
that
photo of
GameStop
you.
in the middle of the Arizona desert. Hey, I will never be there again.
Hey, Brosen fans, Adam Drake here. We are just taking a moment to pause the show to tell you about Trevecca Nazarene University. They're a proud sponsor of the show, and it's my alma mater, actually. So that's where I went to college, and they have all kinds of amazing programs there, especially in film and television, which they didn't have when I was there, so it's pretty great that they do now. And it is just an awesome university that's right in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Great location, sits on a hill, overlooks Nashville. Beautiful campus. Check it out when you get a chance. That's at trevecca.edu. Actually, two of my favorite scenes that you've done, Noah, is from the same episode. So season 3, episode 1, when you go to the jail cell to see John the Baptist. That scene, which we can talk about, and then also in that same episode when you go and apologize to Mary Maggs.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that scene, I'll never forget watching it and me being present and seeing it being filmed. So that was great. But then watching it once it's done, I just remember being so moved by your apology, and it felt so like real and authentic. And the way you and Liz played that scene, just I remember blew my socks off. It was one so yeah. Anyways, tell me about going into some of those more serious scenes. We talked about the fun stuff. Talk about some of that more serious stuff, like that scene with Liz and the scene with John the Baptist, and man.
Yeah, that's very cool of you to say, and that definitely, like, when I read the season 3 scripts, when I read that first episode of season 3, I was like, man, if I'm not even in the rest of the season, I'd be happy, because I just loved those scenes so much, and I was a little worried that I wasn't going to apologize to Mary Magdalene. Like, I was a little worried that wouldn't get, tied up a little bit, that me, saying some very hurtful things to her. So I read that and the John the Baptist scene. I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And so, that day that we shot the John the Baptist scene, that's one of my favorite days I've ever had on set, just because it was only that scene. And I just really wanted to do it justice. And also there was a feeling of, this may be weird to say, but I maybe not, but I certainly don't mean it in an egotistical way. But like if you look at the call sheet and there are people who are coming in and they're guests, that was Joanna's first day, Amy coming in and playing it, and then Willie actually is coming in being a Roman guard. And
I know. I wish Willie was here tonight for that one.
On that, when you see on the call sheet, this is what I mean by, I don't mean in an egotistical way. And you're like, oh, I'm like first up on the call sheet of the day. I just wanted to make sure that everyone felt welcome, that they felt like, we were going to have a good scene, a good day. And you do feel like a little bit of responsibility of, like if you're like a diva as top person on the call sheet, it sets a really weird mood. And then it can be a really kind of brutal day. That's never happened on The Chosen, but on other shows I've been on as the guest, when I come in as a guest, if the people who are, the regulars on the show, if they're like hard to work with, it becomes very unpleasant. And then everyone's sort of tiptoeing around them. So I just really wanted to make sure that everyone was going to have a good day on set. And so it started just we were all in the makeup trailer together, because there's only a few of us in that scene. It's a really small, intimate scene. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was feeling at ease and comfortable. And then we found out, okay, we're shooting all of John the Baptist's coverage first. So again, like how I spoke about that day when we did the telling Simon that I had just seen Jesus, I was like, okay, this is a long tough scene, but we're shooting all of John's stuff first. So like, I just want to make sure that I'm sort of available and vulnerable for him so that he feels like he can give the best performance, whatever he needs. And I hadn't had a lot of time working with David, who plays John. So you never know, like some people, they really want to connect in between takes, or they want to be left alone, like again. And so it was just a really fun day of feeling each other out, being there for each other. And then when it flipped and we did Amy and my coverage, we flipped the world, so to speak. David was just so gracious with his energy, and he was just there for the two of us that day. And you're like in a dungeon. That set was crazy. And there is a torch on the wall right next to you. And all of that stuff, you can't oversell how much that affects your performance, because when they yell cut, you don't like leave it behind. You're really kind of, a part of you goes, okay, let's take a breath, take a second. But there is that part of you that stays with it, because yes, you're doing it over and over again, but that's your day. You'll never come back to it most of the time. You'll never come back to that moment. Like, so this is your day to explore it and try to bring it to life. And so what you don't want to have happen is you do it once, you're like, oh, cool. And then they're like, okay, well, we're doing it again. And you're like, well, I kind of left it, so let me rev back into it. I find that if it's a particularly tough day or demanding day, like I'm probably not going to hang out with everyone during lunch, or, maybe I will if I feel like comfortable with it, but I'm probably just going to have a part of me that is, look, if I'm really in a carriage going to see John, that's a long ride. And then you get there and you see him, and those 5 minutes that you'd be able to talk to your old rabbi and mentor, that would be something that you would never forget for the rest of your life. And if you're not showing up to that moment in that space, then it's not real. To me, that's how I work anyway. It's like, this moment is something that I would never forget for the rest of my life. Speaking to my rabbi in the dungeon, I may never see him again, and he may be put to death. Like, to make those circumstances come to life, I truly feel like you really have to show up for that. And whether that's going off and listening to music, or whether that's reading, we had some stuff this season that was really demanding emotionally. And like, for whatever reason, this may sound, geeky or weird, but I'm in the middle of reading the Lord of the Rings books, and I would just go off and like read Lord of the Rings and be like, what is their journey that they're going through? What are these characters? And empathize with them. And then it's like, all right, we're back up. Everyone come on. And then I'm like, I'm going through my own journey. Let me bring that to the table. And so any way that you can find sort of to tie yourself into the magic, if you will, of like, there's something bubbling under the surface and I want to be present for it. Those are the best days, because you really are like, you're in the acting world. That's what we all aspire to do. You want to play Hamlet. You want to play these parts that elicit all this stuff for you. But you have to be open and vulnerable to it. And so that was one of those days where it's like, if you're rehearsing Hamlet, you show up every day for a few weeks, figuring it out, tinkering, finding that, doing that scene. Maybe it's a little bit of more of this, maybe it's a little more of that. And every day you're sort of fine tuning it. In film and TV, this is your one time to do it, and you're doing it over and over, discovering, exploring, like, all right, this take, I'm going to come into it from this totally different aspect. And then the next tape, okay, I want to do something totally different. I want to pare it back or do this. So you're like using every moment you can to try to again, elicit what you feel like should be there, or what your scene partner is giving you. And you're like, okay, that may never happen again. Or maybe it's like very fine tuning, but the camera can be so close sometimes that, that one shift, that one thought that comes in, the one, like if even about the John the Baptist scene where he says, what was it for you that you got from that sermon? And then I say, don't be anxious. And it's like, there are a million thoughts that can be going on as that hits you, you know? What was it that really stuck with me? Maybe I couldn't even admit it to myself until that moment that John the Baptist is asking that of me. All that stuff, you really want to like dig into the dirt and the field and just find any sort of thing. Or maybe it's like the whole ride there, I've been like, okay, don't be anxious. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Jesus said, you know, how can that help? How can that help? And so you're trying to do it. And then you realize I am more anxious than I've ever been in my entire life. You know, any version of that. I just want that to be there. Anyway, to go off on a tangent, but that's how I try to approach those kind of days. It's like all of those possibilities are there. And then sometimes it's guided by Dallas pulling me aside, and he could even just say 2 words, because all those, you know, it's all those possibilities are there. And maybe one happens, one other happens the next time. And then he goes, hey, I think you almost can't admit to, you know, or something. And I'll be like, that's it. No need to say more. And then we'll go in and do it. And it's totally different. Or he'll say something else like, I think you're actually thinking of it in a slightly different way. I think it's really, you know, you can find the love in it, or the, you know, something. And I'm like, whoa, wasn't preparing that, but let's go there. And yeah, that's what I love about this job, is those kind of scenes where you get to play.
Well, I think the audience just got a free masterclass on acting. So thank you for that. No,
I was going to say,
in addition to their goosebumps, that's great.
Dude, that was like, I just learned so much. Like, that was fantastic.
That. Seriously.
I was going to go off that, Noah. And say how impressive it is that you put that much thought into it, because a lot of actors have like different ways they're approaching it when they're on set. Sometimes you need to be a little bit more like, all right, today we need to respect this person's privacy, not really interact with them very much because they need to stay in the scene. That's all totally fine in their method. I've always seen with you is you're in the super emotional scene, and then Adam yells cut, give it 5 seconds, and you're like, so, bro, did you watch the new episode of Survivor? Because I thought that was incredible. Oh, we're back. Okay. Crying.
That's funny that you say that, because I don't experience it that way. But I've had people say that to me before. I feel like not that way, but I think that what you're bringing up is something that I do think is helpful, which is to not okay. Let me see how to articulate this. If you are having to push something down, so if something comes up in the moment and you're like, I actually don't want to respond to that because that would take me out of my moment that I'm trying to hold on to, you're in the bad. That's not going to help you, because then you're actually, what you're focusing on is holding something tight or not letting it go, or trying to keep something out. And it's almost like when you're on stage in theater, if you try to pretend like there's no audience there, you're like dead. And so a lot of people will think like, I'm so nervous, I just have to pretend like there's no audience. And then, you know, I'll just do my thing. Dude, there are hundreds of people in front of you. Like, that is such a losing battle. And it's the same with a camera or with a crew. Like, I don't pretend like there's not a camera. I don't pretend like there's not a crew. If anything, I'm just trying to allow them into what the experience is. I'm trying to like welcome them into the experience so that we can all do it together. Because if I'm trying to, it's impossible. There's a camera right in, you know, like, you have to know that that's there. And so to go back to what you're saying, Sam, is if I'm like in this scene and then someone comes up to me and they're like, dude, Game of Thrones, like, I may not reciprocate the energy so close, and I may say to them, hold on, not right now, I need to like focus a little bit, but if it does hit and I want to also have that conversation, I'll then try to allow that to happen, because, you know, I just don't want to be in a position where I'm trying to block. If I'm trying to block things out, look who it is, the man.
Shit. Wait a second.
Oh, Willie Mellina. For those that are just listening, Willie Mellina has finally joined us from his really irresponsible duties as a father of 5.
Willie, I was
Oh
just
my
hello,
gosh.
my friend. I love you. I miss you. I'm just ending this just to your point, Sam, that I do think it's helpful to like be open to what is going on. Just like if someone were to if you're like doing a serious scene and someone were to like fall through a chair, like
Right.
if you're like I can't laugh, it's like you're not interacting honestly in the moment. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna laugh because it's funny, or if it's freaks you out, I guess it could freak you out. But all that to say that I do believe in a fluidity of energy on set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that Willie, to update you, we were just actually talking about the scene you were in when Andrew went to John the Baptist, so we were talking about kind of his process through that.
Dude, and
So
Willie
nice
is
of you to
so
join
funny.
us.
I remember this like because I'm thinking, all right, Willie has been on set since season 1. It's season 3, which at the time felt like so far in the
Right.
future.
Right.
It's-
It did feel like a long time.
You're doing it, and Willie has this moment, this walk and talk. It's not easy. It's pretty technical that you gotta make sure you maintain the right distance from the camera. And there's like torches on the other side. I kept thinking I was gonna like burn my hair on the torches, but it's not a easy thing. And he starts the scene. The scene yells cut, and from being cold, Willie's got to do it. So I'm thinking Willie might be kind of nervous or stuff. I come out. Willie is legit in his costume doing pirouettes outside of his trailer. He's like doing ballet for fun. He's like talking about, man, I don't like my makeup, man. They put my makeup on. Hey, you ever been a tenor note? And I'm like, dude, Willie is in, I don't know what he's in, but he's in it, man. And he will be fine.
So funny.
Midlothian has some good drugs.
No, Willie was literally like as loose and as easygoing, which is great because then you're like, okay, we're entering into this without an undue tension coming into it. Yeah, it was. I don't know if you experienced it that way, Willie, but I certainly did.
Oh, that was wild. Yeah. And then obviously knowing the backstory with you and John the Baptist, and what a great opportunity. I mean, it was a much smaller scene and role that I would have liked to have done selfishly as an actor. You want to have an arc and all this, but that was special, man. And it was cool to be able to hang out in the, in the trailers and talk and our conversations per usual since season 1, but do it in a different dynamic when I'm in that role, not locations, not PA.
Okay, so when we make a TV show, this is for all of us here. No one steal this at home. When we make the TV show that is set on a film or TV set, it's got to be TV, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When it's on a TV set, they're shooting some kind of period piece show, and it is a comedy. There has to be the Willie character played by Willie. It's the easiest character to write in the world. Like, it's so full.
Yeah.
It's
PA Nation,
a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So just put that in the back of your mind. When we make
I wrote it.
that show,
Yeah, it's
Willie,
actually Mitch.
you are
Mitch
the
has
fan
written.
favorite.
Mitch has written it. We just got to film it. It's the PA
I
Nation
wrote
episodes.
a pilot about like a film crew, and I wrote Willie as a character, and I was like, I mean, it's Willie. Willie,
And it's so good.
Because, like you
It's so
said,
good.
it's like, I don't know. It's just like it's the easiest thing in the world to write. Like you just said,
Yes.
it's like, okay, I don't even really. I'm just gonna write suggestions for like things that
You
Willie
fill in your
should
own
maybe be
alt
talking
line there.
about. Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's great.
Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of got into some of that serious stuff that was so good, Noah, what you talked about, and getting into the process of those scenes. So I'd kind of like to dig into that some more and talk about any other scenes, and maybe it's this, maybe it's the scene we already talked about. What's been one of the most impactful things of being a part of The Chosen, or your character on The Chosen? But if you have a specific story that has really impacted you in the last 6 years, like we've got lots of fun and silly stories, but what's something that's changed your perspective on things or really impacted you?
Dude, you know what's actually kind of crazy is the thing that comes to mind is in season 4. It was so tough. I don't know. I feel like it's okay to, I mean, I think we were talking about it before, but I think it's okay to talk about because we finished season 5. So we're a little bit outside. And I thought season 5, by the way, went so smoothly, so
I
well.
agree.
Like I thought everything down from the time on set to communication to like I just was like, wow, we are a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, dude, I
and
agree.
it's so
Season
hard
5,
to be one because I think, operating a film set is like, turning a cruise liner. Like it's very, very difficult. But season 4 to me felt really hard. And it's kind of, I'm not to get too into it, but there were some changes going into season 4. The show is getting bigger, all this stuff and really good stuff. And it was sort of ironic that season 4 felt hard because we were all like, oh, the show's getting bigger and all this stuff. But for whatever reason, also the timing of when we were filming it, when we went to Utah, it was like so hot and we were filming outdoors every single day. And it was like, it would get to the point where, you'd wrap, drive home, which we're sort of in the middle of nowhere a little bit in Utah. So like you drive home, takes you a while, you get home, and it would be like, I would make food in my hotel microwave, make food, go to the gym, shower, go like try to dry my hair before going to bed, go to sleep, wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go to set. Like it was like, there was no time to decompress. And I was like feeling really run down by the end of season 4. I think we all were. Like, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think by the end of 4, it was feeling pretty brutal. And I started reading The Artist's Way when we moved to Utah. And it's actually, speaking of me, bringing all my music and stuff to set, making music, I'm about to release this EP in a month. I wasn't doing music at all before season 4, like at all. And then I read The Artist's Way. And I was like, it's called A Spiritual Guide to Creativity, I think. I highly recommend it to anyone who even feels like artist adjacent in their lives. I love this book.
I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I'm not overstating it to say that it has like changed my life. But I was reading it and going through it, and it's a weekly sort of progression where you read the week, you journal, you write every morning. And so I would wake up like 30 minutes earlier than my 4:30 wake up call sometimes to write in my journal and like get my head on straight. Because otherwise you start getting every little thing. And I'm like this, it gets to me and then I start kind of losing it and I start blowing a fuse and you get to your trailer and the water doesn't turn on and you're like, oh, like you freak. And so I was like, okay, I need to calm down. I need to like work on my agitation. So I'm doing this stuff and I'm journaling, writing, all stream of consciousness. And a lot of in the book is about, it's like only to your own detriment do you dismiss something bigger than you going on, or even synchronicity in the world. And that's something that I have not always held that viewpoint. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, yeah, like it's not all about me or the little things in life. Like there are bigger things going on than just, oh, my call time's early again, or all these things. And so I'm driving to set and I'm like so burnt out and it's 5:30 in the morning and the sun is rising over these like gorgeous Utah mountains. And I am just like struck by how lucky I am to be in this position. How, I'm like, oh, these days in the sun. And I'm like, I can't even believe that I get to do this. I can't even believe that after all the work that I put into it and the love that I pour into it and the years of like not working and the years of how difficult it is for anyone to even take you seriously as an artist or an actor, as a human being. And I'm like driving and I'm looking at this sunrise, and I'm like, it's so beautiful. And I get to set and there's wind in the air and we go and I'm surrounded by people that I love. And that month that was so hard was also a month of awakening, I felt like, for me. And I try to bring that with me every day now because I do feel so grateful. And I just was like, wow. And synchronicity is real. And if I may, I want to talk about one other thing that just happened at the end of season 5, and I can't even go into details yet because it would be sort of spoiling something, so I won't. But let me just say something crazy was happening on set, and as we're finishing, as we're getting into some of the, promotional stuff, or we're finishing out the last few scenes. So something crazy is happening on set, and I'm there, and I can't even believe, like, the good fortune that we are having as a show. And me personally, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going on right now? And we finish that moment. And maybe people will put it together in the next few months as things start to come out about season 5, whatever. But we do this thing, and it's sort of like a odd, almost career moment. I'm like, wow, this is so crazy that we are doing this. And there's a little holding area for me, and they're like, okay, the next thing for you, Noah, will be in 10 minutes or something. So you can go back to the bungalow and hang out, or you can just hang here. And everyone else left, but I'm like, no, I'll sit here. I sit there, and a certain song comes on. And now let me paint the picture for this. I have just graduated college, okay? I'm in New York. I'm 22 years old, I guess. 22 years old. Just graduated, and I am auditioning for Jersey Boys, okay? I am auditioning for Frankie Valli, the lead of Jersey Boys. And I'm like, what, dude? This is going to be so difficult. And there is this song, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. If you know the blah, da, 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 it's this iconic song, the one from 10 Things I Hate About You. And it's so hard to sing. Like, this song is crazy difficult to sing. And I'm like struggling. But if you know Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, a lot of his music is in falsetto, all that stuff. And I can do that pretty comfortably. So they keep bringing me in. And the whole time I'm like, this song, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, I cannot sing. So they're going to get to the point where they're like, we can't hire this guy to play Frankie Valli if he can't sing the most famous song from the show. So I get to this Frankie Valli camp, which is where they take like the top, 9 dudes in New York who they're looking at to play Frankie Valli on Broadway or Vegas or whatever. And then they audition them for 3 days. And it's like a super long process where they sing you. They make sure you can harmonize, do all the parts. They make you dance. They make you act a little bit. Mostly it's the singing and then a tiny bit of the dancing and the acting. So I go in the first day, harmonizing, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I make the cut to the next round. Next day, we're dancing. I am like hanging on by a thread. Okay. I'm barely making, the choreographer's like, Noah, you need to pick up these steps. And I'm like, oh. And it's just like the movies. And I'm a pretty good dancer, like, okay, relative to, normal. And on Broadway, baby, nothing. I'm like barely making it. They're throwing headshots in one pile or the other, and you don't know which one it is as they're looking at you. I make it through somehow. The acting, cool. That was the easiest part of it. They don't really care that much. They go on to the next thing. And then the singing, and I come into the room, and they had told me before that final day, don't show up unless you're prepared to move to Vegas on Tuesday. And it was like Thursday. And my mind is like spinning. I'm like, oh. I go in the room, and the pianist has oh, by the way, let me set the stage even more. In front of the table for the audition is Bob Gaudio, the original Four Seasons member who wrote the music. Okay. Wow. Des McAnuff, the Tony-winning director.
Wow.
I'm sure, Willie, you know all these people, right? I mean, Willie is like deep.
Sucks being on mute during this. I wanted to.
You can come up at any time.
So all these people, the choreographer, it's like 9 people behind the table, and I walk in, and I go up to the pianist, and he has "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You" up first instead of "Walk Like a Man" or this jazzy kind of song. And I'm like, hey man, can we actually start with "Walk Like a Man"? Like, everyone's waiting, and he's like, you don't want to do that. Everyone cracks if they start with "Walk Like a Man" because of all the walk like a man, talk like a man. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, dude, trust me. I need "Walk Like a Man." I can't take my eyes off you. He's like, you're in a crack, or you do it. I'm like, no. He's like, we're doing "Can't Take My Eyes Off You." So I'm like, okay. I stand in the middle of the room, and they start and it starts down the octave, And I start it and I'm just like crooning and I sort of get it. I get what they want. I get the sound. I had just seen it on Broadway and I start it and they like look up from their papers and they're like, that's the sound. But then the chorus comes in and it's the part that I know. I'm like, dude, I'm going to die. And they go, and I'm like, I can't sing it. It just doesn't come out. I can't get the notes. And they're like, whoa, wait. Oh, like, that's it. It's gone. They're like, hold on, let's start it again. Gone. Don't have it. I Do Walk Like a Man sounds good. Who cares? Do the other one sounds good. Who cares? Don't get the part. And I'm like, dang. I went home. I ate an entire Papa John's pizza by myself. Okay. And I knew the whole time leading up, I'm like, I can't do the song. And it haunted me. Then they were like, we're going to bring you back. We want to bring you back. And we want to even give you voice lessons with our vocal coach, who's like the Jersey Boys vocal coach, So I do it with her. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, this song is killing me. She's like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I go in again, weeks and weeks later, and it's still like, it's just too hard, and they need it to be so good and so perfect and so easy, and it's just not there for me. Tortures me, so I don't get it. And it's like a 6-month process of me auditioning for the show. And then finally, when it ends, I'm like, I'm moving to LA, okay? I'm done with New York. It was like so torture me. Even in LA, like 2 years later, I get an audition, and they're like, we want you to come back and audition again for Frankie Valli. And I'm like, oh no, dude, they keep pulling me back in. So this song has haunted me for years. Cut back to The Chosen. I'm sitting in the waiting room. I've just done this like thing I can't even believe for us, for the show. It's so cool. All the stuff we get to do for the show. And I'm just like basking in the glow of it. And what comes on? This little radio by the crew. And it goes, vroom, vroom, vana, dun, 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 dun. You're just too good. And I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the synchronicity. And it made me smile. And I was like, this song that killed me. It was like the barrier for me to becoming a professional in a way. And there it is, all these years later, after I just done something that I can't even believe, and all the cool stuff we get to do for The Chosen. And it became like something totally different. It flipped 180 degrees. It became something that was just so special. And I'll never forget sitting in the waiting room just alone, waiting to do the next thing. And I was just like serenaded by Frankie Valli singing the song. And I'm like, synchronicity is real. And only to your own detriment would you think that it's not. And it was so special. So anyway, I haven't spoken about that to like really anyone on the show. That is like a very, first time.
Dude,
but
wow.
yeah, it was just so
That's
special.
incredible.
Wow.
Sounds like somebody can't take their eyes off you.
Yeah. Dude, it was
Dude.
just,
Come on, somebody.
yeah.
No,
Come
that's
on.
one of the greatest stories I think I've ever heard. You
I know.
you
That
look
was
up,
fantastic.
you're like,
know.
who's playing this character? Like, who's playing Frankie Valli on the Jersey Boys now? And it's like first name Charles, and you're like, wait, Charles.
Bio just said, I did it for justice. Yeah.
That's right.
From what age did you start training for trying to be in that show or trying to be in all the great shows in musical theater canon? When did you start training? 10, 12, 14?
Oh no, I only started doing theater in freshman year of high school. And then I went to school. I went to NYU for acting. So that's when it became like very serious.
So 8 years, 8-ish, 9-ish years.
Yeah.
When you up to that point where you're 6 months trying to attack this role.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And then now, almost 10 years after that. Yeah.
And it's like, I knew that it's like there's part of it that was there. And in a studio or something, maybe I could get it out that one time and do it. But that's the crazy thing about Broadway. Like, if you can't get kicked awake at 3:30 in the morning and they go, sing this song right now, and it's not like easy for you, I don't know, man. You need it to just be like, you just have one of those machines. But I will say a final thing, and then I must depart this fun conversation. But final story, how I got into theater.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. This is great.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Took drama. No really idea why. Honestly, I don't know, man. I don't know to call it fate or what, but I made my mom switch what high school I was going to go to. I was going to go to this sort of really preppy, there's like 4,000 kids at this one school. That was where my brothers went.
Is
and
it still
was
in
right
Arizona, by the way?
in Arizona, yeah. And it was right next to me. I was going to go to Corona del Sol was the school that I was going to go to. I chose to go to Marcos Deniza, which was markedly less so. There was just, I mean, I don't think it was a little bit of a scrappier school. Okay. My first week of school, there were like 7 fights, and it was a little bit, there was less money going around for the arts. And I mean, there's always money going on for sports, but less for the arts. But the arts program was amazing, and I didn't know it at the time. So I just asked my mom to change what schools. I didn't want to go to Corona for whatever reason. I go to Marcos, totally changed my life. I go into drama. I don't know why. I'm in this school, and they're like, the fall play is coming up. It's this British farce called See How They Run. And you should audition. And I show up to the audition, and we're about to do like cold reads, which is where you pick up the piece of paper. You've never read it before, and then you're supposed to act it, which is like insane, and you never do that in real life. But that's like how they do it sometimes in high school, I guess. So they're going to do it, but I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm taking this home. So I took the sheet home, and I'm like looking at all the characters. I don't know anything about acting. I'm like, what do I do? And I see this one part is a monologue, not a scene. I'm like, oh, that seems like it would be easier. I just kind of do my own thing with it. And it says it's a Cockney Bobby, which is like a Cockney police officer. Whenever this was, the 40s or something. I don't even know what Cockney is, but I had just seen Shrek, and so I'm like, maybe it's like
that's completely different.
Maybe it's not Shrek, but it's like Lord Farquaad. Like I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's me, Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, but I'm like, and I'm still to this day horrible at a Cockney accent. Horrible. So, but I'm like, I'm just going to go in and do it. So I go in, I do my best version of some sort of accent, and I had like prepped it at home, which like you're not supposed to do. Go in, I do it, I get a callback. At the callbacks, I am up against a senior for this part, but it's just him and I. So I'm like, whoa, crazy. I have a 50% chance of getting this part. And they're like, dude, you're a freshman. You're not going to get this part. But to me, I'm like, I kind of could if it's just 2 of them. Very sweet guy up for the part. I loved him, and we did something, later, but a little bit soft spoken. And I am like the loudest dude of all time.
Yeah.
And the teacher and director is like, we're going to put you both on stage, and then you both are going to do the monologue at the same time. And like, we'll see who catches the audience's eye, which is insane. I love
diabolical. Yeah.
But it is diabolical. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Well, like if I just do it so loudly, and it is a funny comedic part, if I do it so loudly and obnoxiously, and I, take my time with it, like I can't lose. I'm not thinking that like consciously, but I'm like, oh, we're doing it at the same time. Like, all right. So he goes and he's sort of soft spoken doing it. And I'm just like howling this monologue, and everyone's kind of laughing, and it's brutal, I think, and he stops before I do. He's like, gets through it. And I'm like milking the lines. I'm like, wow, I'm like horrible Cockney accent, but I'm doing it. And the last line is something like, he thought it was a wheelbarrow. Whatever that means, but I just like do my and like the audience laughs, and I'm like, how do you not get the part after making the audience? And I got the part, and it was a little bit like, what? Like the freshman got it? And I get in, I'm not taking it too seriously because I had so much fun, and the community with that play, I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had. And from that moment on, I was like, I may have something here, not in terms of my own ability, but in terms of like the connection I had with everyone, the fun, making people laugh, figuring out a character. And like by junior year, I was like, this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. For sure, it's what I'm doing. And
That's
then the
awesome.
rest is, yeah.
And then here you are.
Dude, that's a great story. Gosh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Can't take my
Thanks for
eyes
sharing.
off of you.
Mhm.
Willie, one day I'm gonna come to set season 6. Just learn the piano for it. We'll do a little crooning for the
Yeah.
BTS theme, and then when it gets to the chorus, I won't sing it.
Just cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
We'll
just
cut before. I'll go
Yeah.
Instead,
and then cut.
instead you'll do it in a bad Cockney accent. God dang my
Yeah,
eyes
exactly.
off of you.
That's so fun.
Well, Noah, man, thank you so much, man, for giving us your
Yeah.
time. That was, dude, amazing stories. Thank you so much for the great stories.
Time flies.
Man, we learned a lot today, didn't we, fellas?
Thank you,
That
guys.
was good.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with you guys. Chat.
Awesome guest.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, Noah, it was great seeing you, man. Can't wait to see you again next season. Next time we see you, we're gonna have to make sure we get a few rounds of Super Smash Bros. In.
Oh,
And thank you for having
chosen
Chosen
the bros.
the Bros.
Bros.
That's right.